What an amazing couple of days we've had in this church, Friday and Saturday. There's something really special about having new people in the church for the first time. It's a great blessing. I didn't know Paula was going to speak about Friday. Can we take the echo off the microphone, please? I think it's on, if possible. Okay, carry on. I'll carry on regardless. It sounds like I'm also standing at the back talking to myself. I didn't know Paula was going to speak about Friday. Best laid plans, so I'll just rip out the first 6 pages. If it was a Mr. and Mrs. quiz, we've just scored no points and got off to a bad start. But I'm still going to talk a little bit about Friday. I have been invited today to speak about my perception, what it means to me, the Holy Spirit. But as the line in that song there, and I got all emotional just singing it, I stand in awe of you. And when I speak here today, it's not about me at all. I'm speaking to you, all of you, in awe of God and Jesus and what he's done for me and what the Holy Spirit does for me. It's not really about me, the person. But before I talk about that, I do want to go back to Friday. I feel really a strong compulsion to talk about Friday and Friday's service because I believe something very special happened on Friday. So much so that when I left here Friday night, I told Paula on the Saturday, I couldn't sleep Friday night. I was absolutely alive. I was buzzing. It was like, it reminded me when I used to work shifts in the police and when I used to do an afternoon shift, 3 till 11. And on a busy 3 to 11 shift, there was that much going on that when you finished work and went home, which usually wasn't on time, there's no chance of sleeping because the things were going through your head, what you'd been to, the incidents, the people, the situations. So you couldn't sleep then. So what was it that kept me awake and kept me thinking there was something really special about Friday? Well, you would be forgiven for thinking that Friday's service would be predominantly sad. After all, we were remembering the passing of our inspirational friend and church family member, Sue Jarrett. But it wasn't. It was truly joyous. She wasn't here, but the presence of the Holy Spirit amplified and magnified her journey with God. Her commitment to the teachings of Jesus, its effect on the direction on her life actually shone like a beacon. If you were here, you could feel it, you could almost touch it. And lines from 2 songs, the words kept going through my head on Friday over and over. The first one was a song that's quite often sang here, Death Has Been Defeated by Love. And the second line from a song that goes way back. Now, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember this song from school, but it was one of my favorite songs was Jesus Wants Me for a Sunbeam. I'm going to spare you. I'm not going to sing it. I'm hoping some of you remember it. On Friday, through the power of the Holy Spirit, Sue was still shining for him, just like the sunbeam that she wanted to be for him. Paula referred to her tears of joy when Sue devoted her life to Jesus. Joy was present here on Friday. Friday wasn't about death. It was about life. And by the way, it's already been said, but Brian, you did an amazing job on Friday. And it's not just funerals you're good at, Brian. Whenever, on the rare occasion, you speak from the front and share, people always come to me and say how much they enjoyed it and how moved they were by what you've said. And Mrs. Kelly, you were great too. Credit, please. So I'll go on now to what I was originally asked to speak about, what the Holy Spirit means to me. It's not possible for me to talk to you about what the Holy Spirit means to me without also telling you about my somewhat comparative short journey with God, because the two are inseparable. For those who've been here and heard my testimony before, apologies. To those who've not heard it, apologies. And to those who were told that today's was a short service, apologies. So a bit about what led me to God, what brought me here, and what really gave me a new life and a new wife. So my story in brief. I was blessed with the most amazing, loving mother a son could have. And my mum had a faith, but never talked about it much. She never got the opportunity because my dad was a passionate atheist, and any raising of the subject would lead to heated arguments on a Sunday. So it was avoided like the plague. I was also blessed with a happy school life. My ability to impersonate most of the teachers and make people laugh meant that I got a free pass from the bullying that went on. Others were not so fortunate, and I do regret, at looking back, not trying to do something about it. But although I didn't recognize it at the time, God was watching over me. Looking back, I don't think it was merely coincidence that my best friend happened to be the son of a police officer, a serving police officer. This meant that I was able to become what I'd wanted to be ever since I was a very, very young boy. Ever since watching my role models, my heroes were Bert Lynch and Sergeant Dixon from Dixon Dot Green. Again, for those who can remember that. Why was that the case? Because I had an urge, a desire even then to serve, to help, to protect, and to be with people. Did I have a faith at the time? Good question. What were my beliefs? Did I need one? In all honesty, the only time I went to church was for a funeral or a wedding. I was very curious. You could say I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I didn't totally believe, but I did have an open mind. I wasn't committed either way. I really loved my job, and according to my peers, I was pretty good at it. So life was wonderful. What could possibly go wrong? Marrying the wrong person for the wrong reasons was a catalyst that led me to an abyss of guilt, anxiety, and depression. The breakup of my marriage led to my first bout of depression. It's just a word, isn't it? Maybe today it's an overused word. But unless you've experienced it, it's not something to easily explain. In my experience, I'm talking about arriving at your destination. At this particular time, I'd moved back to living with my parents. Arriving at your destination and sitting in the car for 2 hours and thinking it was 10 minutes until you find the reality. It's actually standing in the bathroom on your own, pressing something sharp against your wrists. And ultimately, for me, it was sitting on the edge of a station platform, the worst for alcohol, which is not a good servant, and wanting to jump off in front of an oncoming train, but not having the courage to do it. So being depressed, it's not just being bored with your job. or just being fed up. So every time I climbed the ladder, something knocked me down again. The death of my mother, and then the death of my sister, from whom I was a carer for. Every time I climbed up, something pushed me further down. There are two things I could probably write a book about. One are my experiences in 31 years as a policeman. And the second one, on a lighter note, are my experiences on a dating site. Paula was the only normal person I ever met after numerous horrendous dates. And when I say normal, I mean not a compulsive liar living in a complete fantasy world. Paula had a strong faith. She needed one to stick with me. But seriously, Paula knew what I needed in my life, and she was on a mission. She tried for years to get me to come here. But nothing human would get past my misconceptions of what was in the church and what it was like. It's terrible when your pages get mixed up. I did, but somehow they've gone in the wrong order. I'm going to have to do it by memory. So, things came to a head one night, and I was the worst for alcohol again, and I was having a terrible nightmare. I was seeing my mother in hospital in a lot of pain, screaming. And for the first time ever, I prayed as if I really meant it. I cried out loud. My poor neighbor must have wondered what was going on. I cried out loud in desperation. I pleaded for God's help. The last thing I remember was falling asleep. There's no logical explanation, or scientific explanation for how I felt when I woke up in the morning, Saturday morning. All my apprehension and fears had been swept aside, melted like snow in the midday sun. I had a burning desire to come here, to this church, like a compulsion, an order, something pushing me. James 4:8 says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." Jeremiah 29:13-14 says, "When you seek me with all of your heart, you will find me." And Revelation 3:20 states, and I really love this passage, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him, and he with me." So I stand here today in front of you all, and it is a depleted number. Obviously, some people knew I was speaking today. I stand in front of you and tell you they're all true. All those words are true. So my life changed when I walked into this church. A new life, a new life, a new family. My thirst to know more became insatiable. And I had the best mentor that anybody could possibly have. I'm not going to mention Rob's name in case it embarrasses him. Rob did an amazing job. He knew how to cajole and how to guide, but not actually push until the time was right. I do remember the moment of the push, and I'm so glad you did, because the decision when Rob said to me, "Are you in or are you out? Time to come off the fence." And I said, "Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to commit." That's the best decision I've ever made. With lots of encouragement from people in the church, I finally committed my life to Jesus. I have simple beliefs. I'm not big on theology. I merely want to live, to behave like Jesus demands from us to the best of my ability. I've learned so much on the journey and been helped by so many people. One of our amazing leaders at that time, and I don't want to embarrass Christine, so I won't mention her name. She demonstrated what grace really meant, what it was like. Her encouragement and her affirmation of my singing led me to what is now a very important part of my life, singing to the forgotten, the elderly, the unwell. It's a ministry to me, and it's important to me. I'll always be grateful. So what about the Holy Spirit in all of this? What's its role? It's an awful lot more than a friend. To me, it's everything. With the Holy Spirit, I'm alive. Without it, I'm dead. Not physically, but separated from God. But for me, like many, I suspect, it's a daily battle between doing the right thing, allowing the Holy Spirit to guide you, or giving in to my human desires, personal gain, selfishness, self-interest. But that's no surprise, and it shouldn't be. Because Galatians 5:17 says, "For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh." If I want more knowledge, I'll open the Bible. If I want advice, there are so many people I know in this church and this family willing to help me, to guide me. But it's not the spoken word or the written word that leads me or guides me. It's the Holy Spirit that dwells within me. And it's my desire to walk with that Spirit. That's what it means to me. That's why it's so important. And that's why it's inseparable. The two are inseparable. It's like that line in the song, you can't have one without the other. Galatians 5:22-23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance. I looked up forbearance a few times in different definitions. It's really powerful. Kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. All those words that are so powerful, and all the things that we want to be. All the good things that the Holy Spirit wants us to be. To me, happiness is more of the world, and joy is of the kingdom. It's spiritual. There was joy here on Friday. There was joy here several weeks ago when 7 Iranians were baptized. And what an amazing day that was. It was joy, it was an elation. You could touch it, you could feel it. It wasn't happiness. You spoke to some of them at the front and you could see it. It was an amazing thing. It was joy. It's no coincidence, as I did a bit of research. Happiness is mentioned in the Bible 30 times, approximately, depending on which version you read. Joy is mentioned a minimum of 150 times, up to 300 in some versions of the Bible. It's no coincidence. 2 of the 3 most joyous days in my life took place here. My baptism, which I can remember like it was yesterday, and my marriage to Paula. It's very emotional standing here at the front, and I thank you for the Holy Spirit giving you patience and your resilience and your tolerance. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Let's just take a minute. I don't have anything to follow that with. Thank you, Steve, for your vulnerability and your willingness to share. And what an amazing testimony. I loved that verse.